Rico, I want to start this interview with again saying, like we did in our previous interview, our first interview, that the audio recordings of Mr. Howarth on the phone published on your previous blog were never meant to see the light of day. With that in mind, this is part 2 of our interview, but part 3 in the series looking at the intimidation targeted at your wife by Mr. John Howarth. Where do we start?
Well, yeah, like you said, the audio was never meant to appear online, but it did, because it was a really, in my family's case, it was a last resort. And the reason it was a last resort in our eyes, well, especially in mine, was that after going to the police and being through the police, which I will explain, that we had been failed by the police, States of Jersey police. It just was unbelievable what little happened. So if I can explain it a little bit, in February, I think it was February the 12th, emails were sent to my wife's work, and this coincided with what Mr. Howarth was saying on the audio. And then when that happened, I knew at that moment I have to do something. It was it worked quite well as well, but my wife was feeling a little bit better by then, so I felt like it wouldn't be too much stress on her to take it to the next level. But when I know what people have heard the audio, when you hear that sort of stuff, and then that emails have been sent, then you've got to do something, and you've got to do it right. That was what was the main crux of this. Even though my past experience with the police, I thought nothing might happen, I've still got to go through the right channels and contact the police, which I did on February 17th of this year. I contacted the police. I went down and had a conversation with them. I explained about my tax and also the attacks on my wife, and I said, first of all, I just want to deal with the tax part of it, which we talked, and they said, well, it's really a data protection issue and a matter with the tax department to go and sort that out.
So there was little interest from the police?
Well, when I first contacted the police, I phoned up States of Jersey police, and I spoke to a Jeremy Percival, and because I knew he knew quite a bit about the Hayworth cases, and
because other people had complained about Mr. Howarth.
Yeah, there's people. Yeah, I know of, and so I thought, well, better to talk to the person who knows something about it. So I phoned up States of Jersey police. I spoke to Jeremy Percival, and I just explained what was going on with my wife. And I explained I also had audio to back it up, which he said was fantastic. And then he said to me, do you have any idea who the person is? And I said, yeah, it's John Howarth. And the phone went silent. And I'm not joking here when I say this. I said, the phone went silent. And he said, okay, very well, yeah, come down the station, but don't ask for me. As soon as he said, don't ask for me, I was like, oh God, here we go again. It's like no one wants to touch this. So I had to make decisions here. Not only was I going to go to the police, but I also went to BBC Jersey, who had been doing programmes on and publishing, police stuff on cyberbullying. So I said, look, here's what's happened to my wife and all that. I said, if you want to know how seriously police take cyberbullying, I will copy you into everything. You can follow me on this road. I'm going to go through
the emails between you and the police, your wife and the police.
You can follow me, and the police might be absolutely perfect and do everything, or they won't do anything, but at least you can see in real time of what is going on. So that's what I did. So in February 17th, I went down to the police station, and I put the wheels in motion, really, and that's where it started. And it's just been a horrendous chapter. If I think I had my final meeting with the police, I think it was the 20th of July, and basically the police told us, but they've done nothing.
So basically in 6 months, that is, by the sound of February to July, February, March, April, May, June, July, 5 months, you've been showing the police and played them the audio that's on.
Yeah.
And they've done?
Nothing.
Nothing.
And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. No one in that time, like I say, I don't want to explain it all on the blog, on this interview, because it would take too long, but I'm going to have a timeline on my blog posting where people can just read through exactly what's gone on, and it's not a pleasant read. So desperate was my wife at one stage, but she even contacted the chief of police to see if something could happen to Mike Bogon, chief of police, emailed him directly, and she got an acknowledgement of the email, and that was it. Nothing.
But you saw Chief Officer Mike Boron in town.
Well, luckily enough, the chief of police seems to he seems to spend a lot of time standing outside British Home Stores or Topshop. So I was like that, right, okay. When I was in town, I seen him standing outside Topshop, and I went up to him. I said, I introduced myself, Mr. Boron. I said, my name's Rico Sorda. He said, Rico Sorda, you're the blogger, aren't you? I said, yes. He said, you don't have a problem with me, do you? I was like, no, which was quite a strange intro. And I said, my wife emailed you about a week ago, and she hasn't heard anything back. I said, she's really concerned, and I explained a bit of the case, and he says, I haven't seen your email. And he then radioed the station and said, has an email been sent by Mr. Sorda, and what's its contents? And he said, when I go back to the station, I'll look into it. I was like, okay. Perfect. So when I went home, I said to my wife, I said, I've just chatted to the chief of police. I expect you're going to get an email now, saying, look, I understand your concerns. Don't worry, the States of Jersey Police. I'm not asking him to get involved in the case. I'm just some reassurance is all we're looking for. And nothing. No. Nothing. So as weeks passed, she emailed again to the chief of police saying, look, I need some help here, and she got an email back saying, don't worry, Mrs. Sorda, will be in contact in the near future.
In the near future?
Yeah.
So here's a sick, vulnerable, pregnant lady being horribly harassed, having emails sent to her work. And yourself, as a family, have been down the police station on numerous. And there's absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we've handed over what we call our evidence because, I said about the audio also, but look, I know how it works, but, it's intelligence gathering. I said, you can join, it's the police who join the dots, what I mean? It's not my job to join the dots, it's the police's job, And my wife also made a statement. She's made a statement to the police, and gave the evidence as well, especially on the Facebook stuff with those fake avatars. It's intimidation, putting her picture up, putting place of work. It's pure intimidation. That all went to the police. And
Julie Hanning, Sue Young, James
all those
Pierce.
Fake avatars, which was all coinciding with the audio, the emails, and what was appearing all at the same time. That's not coincidence. Yeah. And nothing was happening, and we were waiting and waiting for the the high-tech crime unit to obviously get the data from the emails, who then can trace it, which I knew was, I personally thought it was a waste of time because the guy obviously is going to cover his tracks. But we waited, and we waited. Now, I'm not coming on camera because the police officer who was dealing with us, he was just a Bobby, nice guy, but totally out of his depth. And when I first came and talked to the police, and I took my wife down to the station for making a statement, he said to us, look, I'm no expert in this cyber crime and that. He said, so this will be taken out of my hands. He said, it'll probably go to CID, but it never was. Now, not only do I feel let down and my family, but I believe that the States of Jersey Police also let this policeman down because he was way out of his depth. And but no one seemed to be taking an interest. I mean, no one has taken an interest.
But there seems to be like a modus operandi here, because we know of a number of individuals who have made complaints about Mr. Howarth to the police. Notwithstanding that there's a couple of parties who have fallen foul of him and had emails sent to their employment. So there's a lot of similar.
I've had one sent.
You've had them sent to yours. Your wife's had them sent to theirs. We know of others who have had emails sent to theirs, to their place of employment, and he never gets his collar felt.
It's, this is why this time round I want the truth. This is what I want now, is the truth. What is going on? I had the police phone me up on Friday. And
Friday just gone.
The police phoned me and said, like, Mr. Howarth's been down the station and complained about my blog and the audio being up. And again, the policeman was very nice. Like, you know, he said, look, he's come, he's made a complaint, you know, I'm just following it up. I said, yeah, I've got no problem with that. But I said, the reason the audio's on my blog is because you, as in the States of Jersey Police, have totally failed my wife across the board. Let's make no mistake about this. It's utter failure. And I'll be showing exactly on my blog in the timeline of what we did to try and get something resolved.
Through the correct channels.
Through the correct channels.
Police.
You know, I'm not, you know, I always, you know, I'm not out to beat anyone up as such, like, you know, I just want it done and dealt with properly. Now, is it just PR spin with the States of Jersey Police, but they're taking cyberbullying seriously and all the rest of it, you know?
Yes.
You know, yeah, I mean, this is the question, you know, it's all great coming out in front and saying we're doing this and that, but when a vulnerable woman goes down to the police station and looks for assistance, nothing.
But I just want to take you back there. You said that the police phoned you Friday because evidently Mr. Howarth had been down there Friday to make a complaint about you. Now, here's what sticks out to me is he makes a complaint about you on a Friday, and you get contacted by the police that very same day. Now, your wife, make a complaint about Mr. Howarth, and he doesn't get contacted in any way. What's all that about? Any idea?
Well, the only thing I can, you know, it might be that they didn't contact him as well because they were evidence gathering and they don't want but they don't want the party to know. And also, I mean, I did say to them that, you know, because I know of how, you know, it's been operating over the years, you know, just calling him in and having a couple of words is not going to work because he's not going to go away, as has been proved over the years, you know. So it has to be dealt with properly, and if it can get dealt with properly, then that's it, you know, it's done. But at the end of the day, you know, to do nothing, I mean, nothing.
Well, that's where we are, I guess. So at the end of the day, what is going to happen here? Because nothing has been done at all. So yeah. Where do you go? What do you do? Well, how do you protect the vulnerable?
The policeman said to me on Friday, oh, Mr. Sorda, you know, he was concerned about the audio. He said that, you know, I don't know if it's illegal or not what you've done and putting it on the...
What you've done?
Yeah. You know, by putting the audio on the blog, you know. And I said, well, look, you know, I've got to protect my wife. I said, if you can't do it, I will do it. And I will do it in the way I know, but I can do it, like, you know. And, you know, and that's what I've done. And, you know... People have got to start taking responsibility around here, like not just Mr. Hayworth, but the police have got to start taking responsibility around here because, and also, you know, I've just got to explain this. This is Jersey for you. On I think it was Friday or Thursday, I can't remember now, but I was in town with my wife, and we bumped into Mr. Hayworth. You know, this is how, you know, I pointed him out to my wife. I said, that's him. I said, that's the gentleman right there. He's seen us, and then he had no option really. He came across. And the first thing I said to him, I said, John, I said, have you got something you really, you know, have you got something you want to say to my wife? And he said, oh, yeah. He said, you were never meant to hear it. I was just like, what? He said, yeah, you weren't, yeah, it was basically your fault. You shouldn't,
my fault?
Yeah, your fault. You shouldn't have recorded it, and if you hadn't recorded it, she would have never have heard it.
So he's taken no responsibility for the words and the threats that he made?
No. And so I had to cut the conversation. So I said, look, I'll be in touch, you know, on your way, because if you can, you know, you've heard how, you know, everyone's heard how bad that audio, and there he was, he came face to face with the victim, and
he still couldn't take responsibility,
you know. And that for me is, you know, until those issues can get addressed, you know, it's nothing will get sorted.
But here's another question I've got to ask, I suppose, is, so he's asked the police if you've committed any crime,
yeah.
or I've committed any crime, yeah. for putting these audio, his tape recorded audio online. Well, surely that police officer who he's complained to has a duty to see if Mr. Howarth has committed any crime with data protection, with your tax, with the threats against your wife.
Well, you know, I'd like to think so, but I don't know what's going on down at the States of Jersey Police. You know, does anyone know what's going on down at the States of Jersey Police? You know, Chief Police Bowen, you know,
the chosen one.
Yeah, like you've done that post. I mean, he showed no interest really. I mean, you know, my wife was looking for some reassurance. You know, again, because I don't want to keep saying about how ill she was, but she, you know, she was extremely ill. No one from the police in all this time of us going to the police contacted her, say, is everything okay? You know, are you okay? Is, you know, are you
looking into the case?
Yeah, are you, you know, just support. I think that's the right, you know,
support. The police have got, as they keep telling us, this wonderful victim support. Are you saying that your wife had none?
Nothing. And this is why I keep saying the word nothing, because nothing was done. And it's not the policeman's fault who was dealing with our case, because he was just way out of his depth. You know, he's only, you know, he's just starting his career. You know, he's you know, and it should have, you know, I don't know what happens when it goes up the...
Well, like the policeman himself.
Case, or is it a case of once they see the name Howarth, is it, oh my God, you know, I don't want to deal with that, or is he protected? And you know, people can laugh at that when you say, oh, is someone protected? But then you've got to start asking a serious question, because he was used in a court case to shut down a blog. So, you know, there's a genuine question to ask there, is he protected? Because my wife received no help.
That's right. It was going to be very uncomfortable for the establishment, as they say, because Mr. Howarth was given, for all intents and purposes, his share, £100,000, in order to silence Mr. Sivray.
Yeah, you know,
for the very same thing.
Yeah, and all we are looking for as a family is some form of protection or some form of investigation. There was one part which really, you know, it made me angry, like, because my wife made her statement, and part of that statement was about you know, emails being sent to the Jersey Financial Services, you know, and basically I got an email back when I asked the police how they were getting on with that investigation, because it's very important we find out if anything was sent to them and what was sent. The police came back to me and said, basically, I've got to do it.
You've got to do what? Contact the JFSC?
Yeah, as it doesn't form part of the investigation.
So they're asking you again to investigate. They're asking you to do what they should be doing.
I was coming to the conclusion here, do I have to do the case? Do I make the case, put it in a folder and go down to the police station, or do I just go to the AG and put it on his desk and say, there you go, what do you reckon? This is where we're at, you know. This is why this audio had to go out, because for me it was a last resort, you know, and I think people can see that, you know, and when they read the timeline of our dealings with the States of Jersey Police, I think people will start seeing the picture here. You know, this is where where we had to go, because we have to let people know why that audio went live.
Yeah, like I say, we went through well, yourself and your wife went through the correct channels, went through the police, looked for help, looked for assistance, got absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? What happens from here?
I'm looking for the truth. I've spoken to John on the phone, and I think he's under no doubt of where I'm going, is because the garbage has got to stop. It is garbage. It's got to stop. The truth has got to come out one way or the other. You know, there's a lot of things I need to know for my family.
Because I just sorry to cut in on you there, because I think that's a very important point to make here. Those letters sent to your wife's work, sorry, the emails sent to your wife work, etc., with her being ill, pregnant. I mean, the outcome of this could have been catastrophic. But we're fortunate that it's worked out. Well, are we fortunate? But the way it could have worked out was your wife could have lost her job, you could have lost your home. God forbid, there could have been huge complications through the stress of the pregnancy. You could be homeless, babyless, and everything.
Well, when you say that, see now I can feel that emotion like building up on me, because that's how I felt at the time, and I can feel it now. Like, you know, it's not anger, but it's just like a real strong. It's hard to explain, but yeah, you know, that's, you know, luckily
that's what could have happened.
Yeah, luckily she's, you know, apart from the police, she got great support elsewhere, you know, fantastic support, you know, which was great for everyone, and it just really calmed the situation down. But yeah, I mean, those emails were sent with malice, total malice. Now he knows exactly the truth behind those emails, make no mistake about it, and I want the truth. One way or the other, I want the truth, because before anybody else knew about those emails, he mentioned them on audio. I have not put that out yet, but he mentioned them on audio before anybody else knew about them. And I want answers. My God. And if the police, you know, what do I do? What do I do?
Well, so you've tried, you've been to the police, they're not willing to help. So I can only think you've got to keep putting these audios out there.
I'm going to get the truth. This is not, you know, because I know John will be watching this. It is not, you know, I'm not like sort of like ganging up on him or you know, I want the truth. Like I say, no more garbage. I want the truth, and I'll stop when I get the truth. That is it, you know, and I'll get there. Believe you me, I'll get there.